Hey guys, this is Brandon Barnett and this is Tell Better Stories. In the last episode, we talked about insecurities leading to skill stacking, my insecurities, not being able to stick to things. And that's what caused me to build this arsenal of different skills. And it was only because I never thought I was good enough in any one of them. And granted, it was the long way around, but it ended up being a benefit, right? It wasn't a detriment. But hopefully you guys will see this ahead of time or know to maybe jump from thing to thing to build your base faster than I did. I was just aimlessly trying things and, getting burnout and scared and then switching to something else. But if you have focus, I believe that you can definitely do it faster than I did. One of those insecurities that I had was in voiceover. Now, I started doing freelance work in 2021. I'd been doing podcasts years before with minimal equipment, and they were narrative podcasts, so I was narrating. And my voice started getting better as I was doing those, and people would come to me and go, "Man, you should look into voiceover work." I started working on Upwork freelance, and it was mainly editing audio-only podcasts. And I would have been on some voiceover jobs, and I got a few. But I had a lot to learn about getting hiss out of a mic. I had all kinds of, I was green, I didn't know. And even to this day, voiceover is like 10% of what I derive my income from. Voiceover was kind of a means to an end for me. It was a way for me to produce narrative podcasts. And just the more you have cans on and are listening to your voice played back to you, and the more you do it, you get better. That I knew how to tamp down the Southern dialect. My voiceover voice is not what like I'm speaking now. It's me, but exaggerated. I lean into maybe the deeper parts, and I really think about enunciation, and I try to take the Southern out as much as I can.
In the dimly lit corner of an automobile dealership, where the aroma of engine oil lingered in the air, a young man.
In November of 2021, I bid on a job with a company called IntelliCheck, and this was brilliant actually, they had Zoom calls with clients who were talking about the benefits of what their company does. And, it was like a group call, and the founder put a job posting on Upwork, and he wanted someone to take that and turn it into a mock podcast. So he wanted someone to come in and really ask questions. But originally that was going to be him, because he was the founder of the company and he was on the call with these people. So instead of all the ums and ahs and all the things that go with just a conversation, he wanted someone to be able to cut all that out and put it together as if a host is asking the question. Being well versed in narrative podcasts, I had done one documentary of myself called Left of Nashville. It's no longer out there. You can probably Google it and still find some reference to it. And then I did Searching for Ghosts, which was a true crime podcast. That's definitely out there. So I knew how to do narrative podcasts. I knew how to set them up. I knew how to edit the interview and set it up for the question. And I knew how to script the question to make it all sound quasi-natural. And that's what he wanted me to do. We were going to script it, and he was going to voice it. And we tried it, and he didn't like his voice. So what I did is, just to give him an idea of what the podcast would sound like in this way, because, he wasn't sure this would work. Like I said, this was a pretty ingenious idea to take a Zoom call and cut it up and make it sound like a podcast. So what I did is, I don't know if we worked on the script together, kind of back and forth, or if I just wrote a script for it. But I would write the questions, and then I just voiced them. And then because I would put music and different things in there as well. And I did a scratch monologue a scratch voiceover just to show him how this would flow if he got his voiceover down. Just pretend I am you, right?
Thank you for joining us today, Scott. If you don't mind, let's jump right in. What are your first memories of IntelliCheck and how it started and what that meant for you?
So you guys know, this started a long time ago.
I think we got our signals crossed, and he thought I was wanting to do this for him in the podcast. And I was like, no, I just wanted you to, I wanted to build it and let you hear it and hear how it will flow and how this will work. This can work. He ended up not wanting to do it, the voice part. He didn't like his voice, whatever. And he was just like, you do it. So this spawned this whole other idea from him of just, okay, you do it. You voice it. And you be if we're going to do a mock podcast, you can be the mock host kind of thing. And we did it. And it turned out pretty well. The Zoom calls, the quality is questionable, but I did what I could as far as cleaning all that up. And it sounded pretty natural. They loved my voice. They wanted me to become the voice of this thing. Before long, I was doing training videos for IntelliCheck. I would take part of those Zoom calls and make commercials for them. I even 1-877-827-7273.
Thank you for calling IntelliCheck. We help dealers and retailers know their competition. If you know your party's extension, please dial it now. To learn more about...
I became the voice of IntelliCheck from a job that I was not even bidding on for voiceover. Never intended to do voice for these people at all. And this is just proof of how one job that I got hired for to do one thing ended up leading to more and more work. And some of the skills that I didn't think I was that strong in, I became the voice of IntelliCheck. Other companies like them were doing podcasts in the automotive sphere. So they wanted us to do a for real podcast with me as the host. And that is the Multipoint Inspection podcast that I'm doing to this day.
After 2020, it became apparent to many that more emphasis needed to be placed on the fixed ops side of dealerships. After COVID-19, supply chain issues and astronomical automobile prices helped shine a light on what is now fully accepted as the backbone of the dealership, the service department.
So me making mock podcasts for them and accidentally letting them hear my voice led them to have me being the voice of their company, which then led to a full-on podcast with me as the host. And then that was an audio-only podcast, so they wanted people to be able to put a face to the voice. And then we started incorporating video. And by this time, I had gained equipment. I was working off an old 2012 laptop, so video was really not Zoom calls or Riverside's what I ended up using, but the camera wasn't great, and it looked pretty pathetic. But I had slowly built my studio up with better equipment, and so by the time they were ready for my face to be shown, I was ready to shoot video. Some people who they just look for things, they look for a need. Some entrepreneurs. My favorite are the ones who scratch their own itch. Also during that time, it just so happened I had been on this, I don't want to say a health kick, but I had started losing weight and working out because I was 48, and I'd kind of let the weight slip up on me, and my beard was scraggly. I kind of looked like a biker dude, which is, hey, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not exactly what every company wants is their face. So it just so happens that I had cleaned up nicely, I guess, around this time. And this is other work. This is something that, I was working on myself during this time as I'm building all these skill sets and using them. So what does this have to do with AI? It's job security in a nutshell. The more skill sets you have, the more things you're able to do. AI voiceover it's not great right now, but it will be. So maybe I don't want to hang my hat totally on voiceover. Copywriting is a big one. Copywriting is probably where AI is going to get there first. And in some cases, it kind of already has. I write copy for all these commercials and all these podcasts that I produce for them. But, I'm also the guy that turns around and voices them. And then I'm also the guy who puts it together. I'm also the guy that writes the story in general as a whole. I'm also the guy that puts music. He's the audio engineer and all these things. And as the voice of this company, they're invested. I'm invested in them and they're invested in me because I'm the face. I'm the voice. I'm the everything on the creative marketing end of this company. I'm who they see. I'm who the public sees. Not to say that they couldn't, find AI that would do all that and cut me loose or whatever, but I've made it harder for one piece of software to come in and just take my job. So maybe this will give you some hope, or some inspiration, some things to work towards, and just think about, it's not the doomsdayers, are going to tell you, your job is over, and I'm not saying it won't be, I at some point, I'm sure it may be horse and buggy versus automobile. I don't know. But the more you know, the harder it is for someone to let you go.